All right, we're here for another episode of the Rehashables season finale or series finale for Stranger Things happened last week. We got a lot to talk about. It's our second Stranger Things podcast in the past month. I am fired up. Matt, are you fired up?
I'm not exaggerating. I don't know what number this is for us, but I think this is the number one rehashable podcast that I'm looking forward to doing with you. Like, seriously.
Which is wild because you were saying that offline, and it's okay. I'm trying to think what I would be more excited for. We certainly have a lot to talk about. We just talked about so many good, fun things over the past couple years we've been doing this. I think this is our 29th episode, but this is definitely like a very timely one. This feels like it was a cultural moment over the past month, specifically in the past week with the Stranger Things finale airing on New Year's Eve and the rush to see that and all the things that you read about and see on YouTube and everything. So I'm excited to be talking about it now. Hopefully we're not too late.
I watched this on Friday with my buddy Jason. He came over, had the house to ourselves, and watched this. And it's just, there aren't many cultural moments like this. Like that everything stops, everybody's talking about a legit series finale. You talk of the Game of Thrones, even though we have our major problems with it, but that was like a moment. Like Succession, to an extent, probably not nearly as big, was a moment. Going back a few years, Breaking Bad, Lost, there's just not many of them. And this was a moment. And as you get older, I just really want to appreciate it and like really take in that stuff and be a part of that conversation, because it's really cool to have something that big to be a part of.
Yeah, that everyone in the world, for the most part, is on board with watching in a short period of time. I was thinking Game of Thrones is the last thing. Succession, like you said, to a smaller degree, probably. But yeah, Game of Thrones for sure. Like a true cultural phenomenon when that happened last. So excited for this. You just never know what the next thing is going to be. In hindsight, it's easy to be like, yeah, it makes sense that Stranger Things was that thing. You saw it going that direction over the past few years and all the hype that each season goes. But it's like you never know what the true next thing is going to be. So excited to be talking about it today.
And it hit so many different like groups of people. It came out 10 years ago. Think of where you were in the world. Think of where the world was 10 years ago. You know what I mean? It really is such a different place. And this was just something that so many people could relate to. Think about it. Aubrey, she's 13 now. 10 years ago, she was 3 years old, and she got caught up to watch this finale. And like, how cool is that? Totally. So it just touched so many different people. And that's why I think it's such a unique experience, and I'm just excited to really talk about it.
We really did grow up with the cast. I mean, a lot of us grew in that same time. It actually has a great cast, which I think is one of the things it has going for it. A lot of likable characters, some recognizable names, some new faces 10 years ago that have been in more things over the past 10 years. So it has a lot of the ingredients that you would need to make it a cultural phenomenon.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
Overall thoughts on things, because we'll jump into our categories and break that down for the second half of the season. We did our categories for the first half. We'll do them for the second half. Might touch on some of the things from the first half, but like in general, what was your first thought when you finished up watching it?
When I finished watching it, and now about 4 or 5 days removed, I was so blown away by how good it was. The entire thing. I thought the entire episode was so well done, so paced out. It hit on all of the things I wanted closed up, the relationships, the emotional elements. It was, honestly, I've been really thinking about this, one of the best series finales I have ever seen. I cannot believe that they landed the plane on this.
Yep. I think I texted you when I was done, not that long after you were done. I was like, that was a perfect series finale. I really do believe that. Sure, there's some nitpicky things that we'll get to. Yeah, of course. But I thought they landed the plane pretty well too, all things considered, like tying up storylines, giving like emotional, satisfactory endings for different characters. And like the last few scenes, which we'll get into, were just freaking home runs, in my opinion. So I was really happy with how they ended it. I thought they did a really nice job.
And we talked about like our issues with the season as a whole, but you know what? I'm telling you right now, nobody's going to remember the whole season. Looking back, nobody's going to remember the season. They're only going to remember the finale and how it ended. You know what I mean? Yeah. Just Lost with the Flash sideways. We loved it, but had things the final season that people maybe didn't love, but all we cared about was the finale. And that's what sticks with us. That's what we've rewatched many times. To be able to stick the landing, and it's just such a different age too, because with the internet age and everyone having a freaking opinion, including us, we're part of that conversation. But I only see so much negativity, and there was so much negativity going to the finale because of the volume 2 release, and people didn't like it, which I wasn't as low on as other people. And just for them to have this moment, and these young adults now to have this moment, I'm so happy.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. I'm excited to be talking about it, man. So glad the way it all worked out. But let's jump into the categories if you're cool with that.
Let's dive right in. Yeah.
I love our categories, by the way, for the TV shows. They're freaking awesome. We'll just jump into the first one. This is going to be a big one. This one is the Jack Bauer Award for Most Intense Sequence. And I got a bunch of honorable mentions and then a winner. So do you want to get started with your thoughts on these?
In this sense, I joked with you before we started recording, this could be like our first 2-hour podcast, because I literally have so many things in most of the categories. But let's dive right in. And again, we're not just talking about the finale, we're talking about everything volume 2 and the finale as well. So my first honorable mention was, I believe it was in episode 5, when Will realized he could take over Vecna's mind for a minute, and Max and Holly were like in a room, and Vecna was there trying to get Max, and Will inside of Vecna was able to communicate to Max and yelled, "Max, run!" That was such an awesome, intense moment from that episode.
Yeah. No, that was a good one. Will had a sneaky good back half. He became like a very important person. Obviously, he was always important in a different way, but like he really was able to show some of his power in these last 4 episodes. So coming off of this, I don't know what episode it was for me, but like I did enjoy the Max and Holly escape from, I think it's Camerats is how you pronounce it. And it brought back imagery of the running up the hill scene from last season, which was one of my favorite episodes of Stranger Things. I don't know that it was like the most intense, but I did really enjoy it because there was just a little bit of tension in terms of get there as quick as you can. You don't want Vecna to get there. I saw some great memes, I'm not going to lie, online, where they were taking a long time to go in the holes. And there was one meme in particular where it had Max and Holly at a desk with headphones on, like they were recording a podcast before they went to their respective portals. And I thought that was true because it did take a long time, but I freaking loved it. And I also loved the nitpicky aspect of Max is like, all right, I'm going to go through my portal. When I get to my body, you go in yours, and good luck.
Yeah, it was. I love that pep talk that Max gave, and like the Holly, the heroic thing, and the necklace, and to give her confidence. I think we talked about this. I have no idea how old Holly is. I think in the show, like 5 years have passed, or 6 years have passed, or so, because I think there were 12 in season 1 or 11, and whatever. They're graduating high school at the end, whatever. Holly was a baby, and now she's 12, so that doesn't quite add up.
That does not add up, but I would guess that she's in that 12-year-old range.
Yeah, exactly.
If they say it someplace, I may have missed it, but that's what I would think.
Yeah, but I love that scene, and I love Max, and we'll get to her a little bit more, but like, Sadie Sink is like so clearly the best actress. Like, she's just so good in the show, and I thought her just giving that pep talk, like you said, was awesome.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that scene. Intense, yeah, a little bit, but like one of my faves, yeah, I would say. At least honorable mention. So, what else you got?
Yeah, next, Karen freaking Wheeler. At the end of episode, I think it was episode 6, when Lucas, Max, I think still asleep, listening to having the song on the boombox, like running around, and Robin and her girlfriend running around, and very reminiscent of the Velociraptors in Jurassic Park of the Demogorgons.
Dude.
It was awesome.
And I know they had a lot of affinity for Jurassic Park, and that's probably very intentional what they did. But yeah, it felt like you were watching that exact scene from Jurassic Park 30 years ago.
No idea how Karen Wheeler thought about putting the oxygen tanks or whatever in the dryer, and having put in the dryer on with the demi-dogs knowing about it and stuff, but she did.
She took out all 3 with that move, I think. Right? There was 3 dogs maybe, and she got them all.
3 of them.
Great move.
Yeah. And then the thing erupts, kills all 3 of them, and she walks up from the fire in like her medical like nightgown and stuff. Just Karen Wheeler, man. What a season. What a season she had. Almost from hooking up with Billy the pool boy in season 3 to now just being part of everything that's going on here. So.
Huge role to play. Great scars that she has. That was her moment, dude. It was funny, the criticism about the dogs got really dumb once they got in that laundry room, and how they couldn't find Lucas with the freaking boombox like on the edge of they're like going right over the top of like behind him, but it was a tense scene for sure, and it had a great conclusion. I was like, how the hell are they going to get out of this? And it was great to have Karen Wheeler play a role in that.
I was wondering, I'm like, can they not hear? Literally, can they not hear? Do they have other senses that they get? Because he was playing music on the boombox. How they couldn't hear? And they're like, shut the music off. And he's like, no, whatever. So anyway, yeah, that was an honorable mention for me.
I liked the radio tower scene. That was in the finale. It was a big part of their plan. Steve's plan from I think the 7th episode about what they're trying to do is bring the abyss closer to the earth realm through the bridge that is the upside down, and they have to be up the top of the tower and all that stuff. And it got a little bit intense up there for a second, and Steve fell off the side. And did you think for even 1 second that Steve was going to die in that moment, that he fell off and the screen went black before Jonathan grabbed his hand?
No, I didn't think for 1 second. If Steve was going to die, it wasn't going to be that way. That's also honorable mention on my list as well. Loved the cut to black for a second.
It was awesome. Weird. It was weird for a second. I did like that pause. It made you think what's going on. And obviously then, of all the people to grab his hand, the fact that it was Jonathan was well done.
No joke, I started clapping and cheering like in that moment. When he saved him, that moment was awesome because Dustin, he let out the yell, and I'm like, maybe for a split second, I'm like, oh no, is this really going to happen? Because they've said so many like false goodbyes throughout the whole series. But that was a cool, I don't know if you've been watching like the theater crowd reaction videos. I can't like inject that into my veins. I can't get enough of those videos.
I haven't seen them, but I'm sure people are loving it.
Incredible. When that happened, the theaters erupted. That was also an honorable mention on mine.
Love it. What else you got for honorable mention?
I have 2 more honorable mentions than the winner. I can't imagine us not having similar things here. But Murray throwing the grenade and shutting off the sound things that we call them the kryptonite for 11 and stuff when the military was coming and getting Hopper, Kali, and her. Awesome moment for Murray, and we'll get to him a little bit later on too, but just when
that was a good moment for him. He got a chance to play a pretty significant role in the finale. Great toss with the grenades.
Yeah, absolutely, like Tom Brady-esque precision with throwing the grenade off the roof. For a second I thought he was gonna sacrifice himself, but I
thought he was gonna freaking run over the top and jump down into the helicopter, but obviously did not happen.
That's what I thought he was gonna do too. But it was just an intense moment with that leading into 11 just snapping necks left and right.
She went off for a sec.
Awesome. And then having the guy kill himself. That dickhead guy. Very unlikable face.
Very unlikable face.
Yeah, he had a bad guy look. Yeah, that was my honorable mention still too.
Love it. Another honorable mention for me would be we're gonna kill the Mind Flayer. They're heading out of the upside down, or heading out of the abyss into the upside down, or upside down into Earth realm. Either way, you think that they're clear, everything's going well, and then all of a sudden you get the army, military waiting for them, and then Max sacrifices herself. I thought that was a great scene, and honestly, for a second, I did think that she legitimately was sacrificing herself. So I'm like, this is it. This is a great moment for Max. I love the special effects. I feel like they freaking used half of their $400 million budget in this episode with all the different effects shots they had, but they had the whole upside down getting destroyed, and then she sacrificed herself, again in quotation marks. I thought that was a great scene.
100%. Playing that Prince song, you knew. Isn't it funny that you knew, like, just the vibe, like in the van, everyone's laughing. Murray's like riding with Hopper into the thing next to them. They're beeping the horn. They're just like driving around, and you just knew things are going a little bit too well right now. I mean, that was an hour and 5 minutes into the episode. A whole hour left of the episode. That was great pick there. So I have one more honorable mention than my winner. So
let's do it. Same. I don't have any more honorable mentions, so let's roll with yours, and then we'll get to our winners.
Just like a little intense scene when Henry was chasing the kids. I thought when he was chasing the kids into the cave and running around, and Holly was leading them, and I thought that was just a really intense scene with the kids and Holly having her moment. So that's the one little thing I want to mention.
I like that. I was reading online how people were commenting just like how expressive Henry, the actor who plays Henry's name, is, how his face is. He has like great faces. He has a great look to him. And I feel like I always use the word menacing in our podcast, but that's a little bit like what I felt. Like it was scary. He's chasing the kids. They're trying to get away. You just don't know how they're going to do it. And that whole sequence was great. Through the tunnel, which we might get to later on. That was some good stuff.
He's incredible. I'm trying to he did such a great job. And we mentioned
it's like his first name's Jamie. I just forget what it is.
Jamie Campbell or whatever. I don't know. I don't know if he's in anything else. I can't really see anything, but he's so expressive, and his voice, like as Vecna, like a little bit of sound effects, but for the most part is like him, because I've seen him doing like the reading and stuff like that. And it's been really fun watching like the behind the scenes stuff with like him in the Vecna costume, like hugging the kids and all that sort of stuff. So he's not anything like of really like note, really.
Well, he's a great addition to the cast last season, and he had an awesome role to play in this season as well.
Just an awesome look. Yeah, great job by him. So, for sure.
So I bet you we probably have the same winner at this point. Like for me, it's Fight Against the Mind Flayer. I assume that that's what it was for you too? So
100%. I'll let you go first, then I'll dive in.
Dude, I just thought it was great because in hindsight, like the thing that was the Mind Flayer was like so obviously going to be the Mind Flayer when you saw the way that it was set up. And the Abyss had a great look. All the kids had a role to play in the fight. They all did something in that last fight. I include the Vecna stuff with inside the Mind Flayer piece of that. And it was just a great scene, dude. Like, I don't know. I could watch that all day long. I do have to go back and watch this episode, but I just thought in terms of the best sequence, whether it's most intense or just like the best sequence, that fight was great. It had a really satisfying end.
So I've watched that scene probably about a half a dozen times in the last 4 days. From when 11 shows up to when Vecna gets the stabbed or on pillar thing, when 11 does that sequence is unbelievable. It's the editing of it is incredible. Nancy, who ended up saying she was going to be the bait and just ran in and drew the Mind Flayer in, and then Dustin and Steve going.
Can I comment on Nancy for a second?
Yeah,
she did a nice job. There was some times where the Mind Flayer got like awfully close to her. What do you think about the comparisons to her looking like Rambo?
Oh, I saw one meme online of her looking like without glasses, with glasses or whatever. Hilarious. Yes, very similar to the most recent one.
What a freaking turn for her. I know she likes her guns, but man, it's just funny to have her have the flare gun that she gave to Mike when he was asking for a gun, just the way she looked at her curly hair and freaking machine guns, and she stepped it up. I'm not the biggest Nancy fan, but I thought she did all right.
I'll get to the Nancy stuff too a little bit later on, but I thought she was amazing. And I thought the Dustin and Steve going under the Mind Flayer with the spears and stabbing him and saying for Eddie, and like them throwing the Molotov cocktails on
Jonathan had a flamethrower, which was awesome.
John had a flamethrower, and the moment, an all-time moment, I don't think I'm exaggerating, an all-time moment was when, and this was like almost like you forgot about him for a minute, was when when Millie Bobby Brown, or 11, was inside and fighting with Vecna, and they were doing their thing, and Vecna's hand reached out and stopped just before her face, and it cut to Will's vision of him and Vecna, to the eye shot coming out of Will.
He stopped it.
Incredible. Like, I'm like, you forgot about Will for a second, and they did an incredible job of like showing that 3 episodes before that Will can do that, and Will being like, I'm not afraid anymore, we're not afraid anymore, and then the quick cuts of all the things going on to eventually Vecna getting stabbed. Unbelievable. Like, I truly so love that scene. It was so good.
A couple other things about it. The jump that 11 made into the Mind Flayer, I have seen that like that's the jump she had been practicing throughout the season, so that was a nice way to tie it in. She really threaded the needle on there, got some air on that, and jumped right in there. So like that was a nice. And they're always planting seeds, and that's just good TV when you're doing things throughout a season or throughout a series that kind of pay off in the very last episode, or at least in the last season. Like that was cool for her to have that moment because she'd been working hard.
First, real quick on that first, because the opening scene in 11 in season 5 was her doing that route and Hopper timing her or whatever. Her jumping, like doing a somersault, like off the thing, doing her hand thing to get some air, jumping in, opening up the monsters thing a little bit, getting inside, tuck and roll into throwing Vecna down was just It was perfect. It was so perfect.
What did you think of Vecna's death and Joyce being the
I
one
love
to cut his head off?
I think I want to talk about that a little bit later on, but I thought the whole Vecna stuff was so well done. So I want to talk about that a little bit more with some moments. But yeah, it was great with the spear thing when 11 threw him through because she couldn't have done it without everybody's help, most specifically Will. No, so this was like a true team effort.
Love it. Cool. All right, so we're on the same page there. Next award is the Desmond Hume Award for Best Character. And honestly, I'm looking at a bunch of people, and I don't have a clear winner, but we'll just figure it out as we go. Why don't you start with an honorable mention that you have, if you have honorable mention?
I have 3 honorable mentions and 1 winner.
Okay, I have 4 people too. I'll be interested to see what you got.
Okay, so we're probably going to overlap, and that's
yeah, for sure. Just see what you got.
I think one of my favorite characters, I mentioned her before, Max. I just think Max was an awesome character. She's, as I said this before, Sadie Sink is clearly the best actress. I thought her emotional stuff that she brought throughout the whole series was incredible. She's one of my favorite characters. She definitely doesn't deserve to win this award. She's just awesome, and I wanted to make sure I mentioned her. That's why she's an honorable mention.
Yeah, dude, totally. She's a great actress. I actually think she'll, of most of the people on the cast, will go on to have the best career past Stranger Things. I don't know what'll happen with Millie Bobby
Brown dash Bon Jovi, which is awesome.
Yeah. She's obviously been in stuff that nothing's really clicked for her, but I don't know. I could see Sadie Sink having a good career post Stranger Things. So, anyways, definitely worth mentioning. Definitely on my list. Another honorable mention for me, definitely doesn't deserve to win it, is Holly. And I don't know if you realize this, but she actually had the most screen time of any character on the show in season 5. And she was just a great addition, dude. Like, age stuff aside, she obviously played a very pivotal role, but she did a really nice job. And I think she's worth mentioning, maybe a little further down the list, but as like one of the better characters and a great addition in the last season of the show.
I couldn't agree more. She's on my list, but I'm glad you mentioned it because I think what's important about her character, this is a good like reminder, is like, this isn't a kid's show. Okay, this is not a kid's show. You know what I mean? It's like, it is to an extent, but it's very violent. There's swearing and all that sort of stuff, but it is a show about kids. And Holly, bringing her in at that level, which is pretty much the same age as the original cast was in episode 1, it's something that everyone can relate to. And I think was a really good job of being that like eyepiece for this season.
Yep. So anyways, want to add her to the list. What else you got?
Second best character for me is Steve Harrington. Mentioned him many times. He is just so damn charismatic. He's the man. And I think his growth from the whole series of being the bully dickhead in season 1, them literally, first off, starting to write him, they were going to kill him in season 1, and then Joe Carey's performance blew them away so much where he became an integral part, to like his entire arc with Dustin, with him finding passion in life of being a teacher and a coach, which is where he ended up, and him being the hometown guy. I think Steve Harrington is one of the best characters and the best character arcs throughout the whole series.
So I'm actually going to give Steve the award for this, for best character for me. And the only thing that really holds me back from doing that is the fact he isn't like a main character. He obviously is in like the greater group of characters. He's just not that main 5 characters or 4 or 5 characters. But for me, he's like the best. He's like my favorite. And all the things you said, he has the best arc. Like, just who doesn't love Steve Harrington? So for me, when I think back at Stranger Things, like, he's definitely like the guy that I think's the man and the best out of the whole thing. So anyways, but it's a tough one.
I'll give my winner.
Honorable. What's that?
You say he was your winner?
He's my winner.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. Awesome.
So he's my winner. So I'm going to take a step back and do my last honorable mention. But and again, Steve Harrington's my winner. It was hard to do that given that he wasn't as important of a character as some of the other ones. And I'll be interested in who your winner is because I really don't have an idea. And this honorable mention, I actually want to take a second to talk about after who's not on our list for this, because there's people that I think should be obvious, but they're not. This other honorable mention for me is Mike. And reason being, like, prior to 11, in the first season, like, if you ask me who I thought like the main person is, like, Mike was that person for me. And the role he played in that last scene, it just kind of reiterated to me that he's like kind of the glue guy that kind of holds it all together. His family's very important to the whole thing. So does he deserve to win it for me? No. But if I look at like that core 4 people. I don't know that I could give it. I personally don't know that I would give it to Dustin, Lucas, or Will over him. So, anyways, I like Mike, but tell me what you think for a winner.
That's a great point. He's definitely like the leader of that
Yeah.
group of boys.
Yeah.
You know, always was. Season 1 really revolved around him a lot, and he got the final shot in the thing. And he was the one kind of telling the story, which we can get to a little bit later. Also, Finn Wolfhard hosting SNL this weekend. Good for him. You know what I mean? So that kind of shows that they pick someone from Stranger Things to host. Good for him for getting that. So I'm excited for him to be having that.
For sure.
So my other honorable mention is actually Will. I think, again, because of his entire arc. Again, I'm looking at this as a series, and maybe not just a season. Him not being very involved in season 1 because he was off screen for most of the time. But then his arc and him finding himself and him coming out to his family and friends in the final season, to him having this moment and this power, Will the Wizard, a moment was really great. Again, I don't think he won it, but he deserved. He was my reason for why you picked Mike, pretty much.
Yeah, for sure.
For best character.
Cool. So he's your best character.
No, my winner. No, I have my honorable mention. I have my winner. My
Who's your
winner is actually 11.
Wow.
I think who's the first image you think of when you think of Stranger Things?
Steve Harrington.
And his hair. I don't
know.
blame
So
you
this
that.
is the thing I was talking about. I want to talk about who the person that wasn't on my list, and 11 is not on my list. I don't know why, but keep going on her.
But that, again, she's not my favorite character. She's not the best actress, I think, on the show. Obviously, have some issues, but she is the poster child of Stranger Things. From the moment she was in the nightgown being found in the woods with the Eggo waffles, to her holding her hand out, to her killing Vecna, sacrificing herself, she is, I think, the first person people think of when they think of Stranger Things. So that's why I felt like I had to pick her as the best character from the series.
It's hard to argue with that, dude. Her acting honestly does turn me off. Something about her, and I don't know if that's intentional with the acting, like just didn't click for me. Like I didn't enjoy watching 11 on screen and really any of her storylines outside of when she was doing like badass stuff. I wish that her relationship with Hopper clicked a little bit for me. We get to all that stuff later on. But anyways.
Like her moment was like literally like she was the hero. She was the hero. So that's why.
Yeah, cool. Not going to fight you on it. Obviously, it was something that was on my mind. I didn't feel like giving her a spot on the list, but I just have higher standards than you, so it's no big deal.
Yeah, that's what I hear you.
Next award, the Saul Goodman Award for character who deserves their own spinoff.
This was our hardest one.
Okay. Tell me.
The reason it was the hardest one is because I don't want any spinoff or sequel or post of this involving any of the main cast. Because I think it was a great story they told with these people. Don't bring them back. I don't. The one thing, there's 2 things. I have one honorable mention and one winner, and I'm kind of cheating a little bit. The Montauk stuff with Hopper and Joyce interests me a little bit. I don't know if you've
heard. That's my honorable mention.
Okay, so I heard like something about Montauk is like where things originated or whatever.
Yeah, there's stuff and some experimentation supposedly U.S. government did, like that involves Montauk or his Project Montauk or something like that. I have seen online that would be a potential spinoff route, and that piqued my interest. Whether or not they deserve their own spinoff, it's different than saying Saul Goodman deserves his own spinoff, because that guy clearly deserves his own spinoff. This is just like spinoff ideas based on last season, and that would be one of them for me, just based on some of the chatter I've seen.
Yeah. So I don't know much more than that, and then I have like a winner. So what else do you have?
I just have a winner.
Go ahead. You go.
My winner is the stone they found in the tunnels.
Similar.
And I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what it was for you. So maybe yours is Vecna or whatever. But that, I believe, is actually going to be the spinoff. From what I heard, given the background to that stone that gave Henry or Vecna his powers. I think in the moment that I was watching, I was like, let me take a step back. I had heard that the Duffer Brothers said that they were putting a clue in the finale about what the spinoff is going to be about. The second I saw that stone and Henry got his powers, I'm like, that's going to be the spinoff. I need to know more about that. And I think they've since confirmed that's what it's going to be. But I think that concept deserves a spinoff, and I'm glad to see that's what it would ultimately be. And you can do that without having the characters of Stranger Things in it and have it be like a totally separate thing.
Yeah, I mean, mine was a Henry prequel, which is a kind of what, I don't know if people know this or not, but there is a Stranger Things stage play that was going on that is a Henry prequel, and you learn a little bit more about that. And it involves that dark matter, and that's what my spinoff would be. I would love to know more about how the Mind Flayer corrupted him, and how that ended up happening, and other things that led to the Upside Down being built, and more things about that. But yeah, I think we're on the similar page there.
You could actually have a freaking spin-off on the Mind Flayer. Sneaky honorable mention added right there, because the Mind Flayer is a thing that originated at some point. It's in this abyss world. Yeah, I think the abyss world is all like clear of all life. And I think some of the things I read would be like the Mind Flayer like consumes all in the abyss, and what it was hoping to do was consume all on Earth. So there's probably a story to tell there. But I'm interested for more Stranger Things adjacent things, whatever that looks like.
Can I ask you a question? See if you remember this. Season 3, the Mind Flayer was the main bad guy at the end of season 3, right? In the mall?
Yes.
And he killed Billy, or whatever, and that all happened. So 11 just sent the Mind Flayer back, obviously, right? Didn't kill it.
Yeah. I honestly don't remember, dude. I'm a bad podcast host for this, so I should have refreshed my season 3. Like, I don't remember that ending. I've watched season 1, 2, and 4 again. I have not watched season 3 again.
Gotcha. Okay. All right, cool. But I know I've seen some clips and stuff, and it was very much a similar type monster as what the finale was. So I think it was.
And referred to it as the Mind Flayer in that time as well.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, all right, cool. Next award.
All right, so for me, it's the Stone. For you, it's Vecna, and it overlaps a little bit.
Similar. Yeah.
Okay, next award. The Ozymandias Award for Emotional Gut Punch, or Best Emotional Gut Punch. For me, I really actually only have one thing here. I'm sure you have more, so if you have honorable mentions, why don't you go ahead?
I have 7 things. This is my longest category.
I'm sure they're all going to work. For me, it was just like, this is what it is.
There's one clear winner, and it goes in order for me, chronological order. So I'll go through it, so we're not talking about this for 35 minutes. I got to give credit where credit's due. I thought the scene between Jonathan and Nancy on the table with them like breaking up was really good. I thought we shit on them a ton in the first half of the season and stuff. And you know what? I thought that was a really good scene.
That was a good scene.
Breaking up, it made me like them more. It was a mature decision. I thought Jonathan's acting was really good in it. So I just want to mention that scene because I thought it was good.
Dude, it's a perfect one to mention. And I was so locked into what I was going to pick that I'm like, I don't even want to think about anything else. I probably should have more. I'm glad you have a whole bunch. But that's a great scene. That was not a bad scene at all. It was well done. There's some people that would be like, they created this whole scene just for that and caused that tension. But it was a good scene, for sure.
Yeah, so that one there, Max waking up between her and Lucas. Again, this goes back to the acting. So good. Both those actors just having that moment, crying, her saying, "You keep playing my song," him asking her if she's sick of it yet. She's saying no, and then she says, "Are you?" And he says yes, and they're laughing, and she's crying, and they're fine. It's been 18 year and a half
months
since she's been in a coma. Like, I thought that was just a really emotional moment to kick off episode 7, I think it was. So that moment made my list.
Another great one, dude. Love it. I've been anticipating her coming out of her coma. That was a big moment in that last season for sure.
Yeah, and it made me regret saying she should have died in season 4, because kind of on that hill. I know you don't, but she just was so good. This is why they couldn't not have her part of this season, because she's just so good.
I think now's actually an okay time to talk about this one thing where I do think that Max should have died, because no main characters died in this show. And I do always think that's a great opportunity for some emotional response in these shows. And that would have been very memorable if she died. I don't know that she was obviously integral to the degree that she was in Vecna's mind and dealing with Holly and all that stuff. I bet you they could have worked that out of shit. She almost should have died. That would have been awesome, dude. The whole season 4 was about her trying to avoid dying. And she obviously did successfully, but I think it would have had a great ending if she did die. So anyways,
So this is where I was on that hill too. And I changed my mind in a sense, when I just looked at this from a perspective of The Goonies, which was a huge movie I loved growing up, or even more recently, something we really love is like Harry Potter. And minus, spoiler alert, minus Dumbledore dying and a few like other like side
Severus
characters.
Snape.
Snape, yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah, Snape too. You're right, but like the main like kids, like the big three didn't.
Nobody died in this show.
You're right. Yeah, no,
Like
I can
there was
understand.
definitely some great emotional moments in the show. I just think like someone dying would have upped the stakes. It would have been like a really cool moment.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so moving on. Will's coming out scene, a huge moment. People have gone back and forth online from it. I personally really liked it a lot. Obviously, I thought it was funny having so many people like involved in that scene, like him telling everybody literally what was going on. But you know what? I thought the actor, the kid that played Will, did an amazing job with that. And just reading things online, if young kids watched that, felt similar, and took something away from that made them feel good or comfortable or happy, then that was all worth it to me. And I thought it was a really big moment in the show that's been building up to it for a long time. And it was an emotional moment, and I'm happy that they did that.
Fair enough. I didn't love it, if I'm being completely honest with you. But what you said about if kids can relate to it, like that stuff's obviously always good for kids. I could have done without the whole storyline, to be honest with you. I would have actually cut the whole thing in the next section. Not that scene in particular, but just that whole storyline. But anyways, it was good for what it was. And I thought it was well done outside of the fact that there was 1,000 people in the room. It might as well give him a mic, but yeah.
I hear you. So we can talk about that more and when we get to if you have more storylines we'd cut, but that was a scene for me. Next up, Henry reliving his past in the cave, I thought was such a pivotal moment of him finding that memory of when he was shot to him bashing the scientist's head with a rock in, and then the dark matter coming in. And he was crying, and you saw this happen to this little boy. And again, you remember all bad guys and villains were human and normal people before they turned bad. But what was so interesting and I thought so emotional was Will was talking with Henry at this time. And you thought maybe Will is going to get to him and say, you don't have, this happened to you. You can make a choice. But Henry chose evil, and he chose to look at the world in a dark place and chose to burn the world down. It was like his Voldemort moment where Voldemort had a chance to redeem himself and chose not to, which I thought was a good moment.
Totally. Another great one, for sure. What else you got?
That, now getting even more here, this is where I'd put in Joyce chopping off Vecna's head. I thought that how they did that, and Vecna spitting up blood, dying, and Joyce holding an axe, and for them to make the choice that it is Joyce that's going to give the final blow. And everything that she went through, being the main character, and she was probably like one of the Winona Ryder, probably the one reason why this show got off the ground, because she was the only name attached to Stranger Things.
Oh.
And to be the mom and all the trauma that she went through, and for them, that was the perfect F-bomb drop. Like, you're allowed one. I think you're allowed one F-bomb in like a PG-13 style thing, and she dropped it perfectly. And with every chop, it flashing to one kid and them having a memory of how Vecna destroyed them was just like an awesome emotional moment. So I had to throw that one in there.
So for me, I put that in the bucket of the most intense scene because it was like an action scene in my mind, but the way it was shot was freaking awesome. And the fact that it was Joyce was awesome. Like, I thought that was a home run way to end it. Like you said, she's the perfect person to do it. And the way they cut it was freaking fantastic.
You want to talk about violence. That took a solid 8 chops to get there.
She freaking was doing work, man.
That was crazy. Now going emotional scene, 11 sacrifice, tied in with Mike and her talking in the other world or whatever. And then Purple Rain comes on and they're having memories of like their time together, being talk about an emotional scene. In an incredible scene with that stuff. I don't know if that was yours.
I just put this in a different category, but I loved all of that. It was great. And the fact that Mike got a chance to talk to 11 in that black space, that was great. Great scene.
Yeah. Two left after this, then one left in my winner. The older kids on the roof. Steve, Robin, and Jonathan talking after the time jump about their time together. I've been seeing this a lot online, but watching it even in the moment, everybody older than 19, older than 22 can relate to this scene. And that what I thought was so good.
That they're never going to actually really meet like that, and life gets crazy, and they're all over the freaking country at this point. But that's what their intentions are. They obviously shared a very important part of their life together, and yeah, it was great. I thought it was a great ending for them.
Great, like little, like that was like the secondary characters that were still super important, but them cheersing on the roof, all of them doing their thing, and then the end, and then my winner, which I imagine is yours, and I'll let you talk because I've been doing so much talking.
Yeah, dude, honestly, thanks for doing work on the emotional gut punch scenes, because I obviously should have had more, and you got all of the important ones. So I'm glad we got a chance to talk about them all. I thought the last scene with the kids in the basement and Mike's parents was as perfect of an ending as they could have possibly done. And it made me wonder, like, when did they know that they were going to do this? Probably when they did the very first scene, because it was just like the mirror. It reminds me of Lost in the sense that the end of Lost was mirroring the beginning of Lost, and then here we are, end of Stranger Things, and this last scene is mirroring the beginning of Stranger Things. And it was just perfect. They were doing another Dungeons & Dragons campaign, and all the characters on the game were represented by each one of them there. And I love the part where I think the campaign ended, and Mike was like, that's it. And they wanted more, and then Mike went into like his deeper monologue about each one. Getting to 11, I was like, dude, this is freaking awesome, man. And I don't know why I didn't see it coming more. I really didn't for some reason. So like when he started talking about 11 more, I just was like, this is freaking perfect. And I absolutely had tears in my eyes to some degree. And I just thought it was a home run right up until the end, where they left, put their books on the shelves, and then the other kids came downstairs and they shut the door. I was like, that is freaking perfect.
Yeah, I was like a rector in that scene. I thought, from the acting of the kids being so into the campaign, like losing it with them like trying to think how they're gonna win, the three of them, while Mike is like the main guy, and Max like losing and being upset, to then when them realizing how to overcome it, and like the girl, the sage or whatever, comes in, and then he's like losing it. The acting was so good, and like him saying, and then everyone lived happily ever after. And Max, you're a great storyteller. That's how you're going to end. Just everyone lives happily ever after, and then goes in because Lost. The show isn't about the Upside Down. It's not about the abyss and like all that shit. It's about the characters and the people in the show, and that's like why you like these things. That's why you like watch this stuff, and that was such an important conversation to have, because we all have friends growing up and we all like love that stuff. So I just thought it was a really good ending to the show. So
super well done. Freaking home run ending scene. I gotta watch it again. But like for me, when it came down to this award, I was like, my mind was like, obviously this last scene, and then moved on. But there's a million of them, because they did a really nice job in that last episode, that last half of the season. So good stuff. Do you want to move on with me to the next one?
Does this have a question? When do you want to talk about the 11 stuff? Is that now, or is that do you have that coming in later? Because you mentioned like Mike saying the 11 stuff. So
you know what? Let's talk about it now. I actually don't have it anywhere. I could see myself inserting it into the biggest mystery or questions type scene. Actually, why don't we save it for that?
Okay.
Why don't we save it for that? All right, we'll save it for that, because that is, in my opinion, not necessarily a mystery, but it's kind of like a question that you have leaving the series finale. So I'm going to move on to one that I think is a little bit harder to answer, but I'll be interested in your thoughts. This is the Roman Roy Award. This is the best scene stealing character. Do you have
I have two.
A number of things? Okay,
go with your honorable. A little bit less for I don't have a million things like the rest here, so we can go a little faster for this. But my scene stealing honorable mention is Murray. I think Murray is so funny. There was a scene, I think it was episode 7 or the finale, where like Hopper is like telling, like the whole room is like saying, and Hopper's saying something, and everything Hopper says, Murray's like, you tell him, Jim. Yep, Jim, you tell him. Or when they go see the teacher, and he's like, a girl, the librarian's over, and does she tell you to shush in bed or whatever? It's just like, he's so funny, that actor.
He's almost like the definition of a scene-stealing character, with his one-liners and just like how bombastic he is. He was actually on my list too, which is funny.
Good.
So he's the definition of that, but I don't know that I could put him as the winner of that. But what do you got for a winner?
My winner, I don't know, maybe he's too big of a character, but it's Steve Harrington. I think he is like, he's so charismatic. Anytime he's on screen, you're just drawn to him. And that's
I can see that. He's not for me. And this is a tough one because I try to look at it as like oh, actually, I'm going to contradict something I said earlier, but I wanted to pick someone that's not a main character for this. Steve is, he obviously is my favorite character, or best character, and I could see why you would pick him for that because the guy's freaking electric factory. For me, I picked Holly. And again, she doesn't steal scenes in my mind the way that Murray does, because again, he is the definition of that. But she's a person that I thought did a really nice job acting. And here I am saying it should be someone that's like spends less time on screen, where I said before, she had the most screen time. But for me, I thought she was like, again, great addition to the cast, like great job acting, and she was in a ton of tense moments. So that's who I thought of at the time. But I guess it's obviously arguable. I wouldn't die on the hill for it.
Yeah, you can't argue with any of that stuff that you're saying. Holly, best addition for sure of the season. Great little actress. I hope she goes off to do good things. So anyway, go ahead.
All right, so moving on then. Love these freaking award names, by the way. The Nikki and Paulo Award for the storyline that we'd cut. I'll just jump in. How many things do you have?
I only got one.
Okay, so then I'll jump into things first. So I already mentioned the Will being gay thing. Not my favorite thing. I feel sometimes that stuff gets shoehorned into shows in general. That aside, my honorable mention would be the Callie stuff. Although I don't know that you could really cut her out, because she really did play an important role in the finale. But Callie as a character in the show was in the universally accepted worst episode of the series in season 2. So it's like when she came back, it just didn't feel great. And it would have been nice to not have her play such a pivotal role. It ended up being very important. So I don't know that you truly can cut it, but I was just okay with her not being in the series. And ultimately she was.
Yeah, I'm not going to add much more to that. But I think the finale, when like the Callie stuff that she was doing, and then she ended up dying and all of that, and Jason and I kind of looked at each other and I feel bad what I said about Callie before. It's like she actually kind of did redeem herself and do a good job. So I couldn't put her there because of the importance of the final stuff, which we can get to. But yeah, I understand it. You know what I mean? It was a stretch.
Again, I'm not saying you should cut it, but I'm just saying these are things that like I could have done without her. What do you got for a winner then?
We have to have the same thing with the military stuff.
Yeah. So I have Dr. K is how I have
specifically Linda Hamilton. Like, why do you have Linda Hamilton in here?
I was expecting so much more from her. You could have cut her out, or the military stuff in general, and been like, fine. Obviously, they needed some tension for earlier in the series, but I don't know.
There was that thing with we talked about in volume 1 with, oh, wait a minute, like 11 cut her off when she was talking, and oh, maybe there's more there. Maybe she has something to go with, or she had a connection with Brenner, or I don't know. But it just never ended up paying off.
Her character did not pay off at all. They stopped them, gave an opportunity for 11 to sacrifice herself, again in quotation marks, and then they cut to 18 months later, and that was it. It was like, okay, cool, thanks for coming in and leaving that really unresolved.
Yep. So yeah, that's that one for this.
Okay, cool. All right, next one. The Dharma Initiative Award for Biggest Mystery or Question. And I don't have a whole lot of outstanding mysteries or questions. The way that I look at this is almost like questions that I had throughout the series or last season, and like what has been answered. I'm going to get one thing out of the way for honorable mention, then I'll let you talk. But I did have an honorable mention for the stone and how Henry got his powers as like a lingering question that's worth mentioning. I already talked about how I think that deserves its own spin-off. So that's fine. And then that kind of would leave one late addition and a winner for me. How many things do you have for this?
I just have 3 very small things, and then since we're talking about the big thing at the end, we'll talk about the big thing at the end. But I have 3 just quick honorable mentions for this.
Let's talk about yours.
Questions with Henry going to school with Joyce and Hopper and all that stuff. I guess that is addressed in the play. The stuff that only a few thousand people have probably seen or so, but they really went through that fairly quickly. There is no moment where you expected Joyce or Hopper to be like, I went to school with him, or that's crazy. There is no moment like that. That's a question, how they didn't connect that.
Yeah.
Okay. The goo stuff that Nancy and Jonathan were in, so that stuff could destroy doors and go through floors and ruin stairs, but they were just like swimming in it and like then got on the table. So what the hell?
So you're using this as nitpicky stuff.
A little nitpicky, a little bit more, little nitpicky stuff about that. But yeah, that's just a question. What is the goo stuff? All right. How was the Upside Down destroyed? A little bit like they had a lot of how much firepower do they have in those bombs? Like to destroy.
It's a good question. It's a
the
good
whole
question
thing.
for sure.
I don't know the answer to it. Again, not what the show's about to me. It's like the island in Lost, which we do know what the island is, but it's the lesser thing. That's a question for me. So then let's just talk because this deserves some
time out, because I think you're going to go where it would be a late addition and a late winner for me, to be honest with you. But the one thing that I was going to say, like one of the overall questions that I had throughout the whole series was like, what is the upside down? Yours is something. What you're going to say next?
I was going to put that on my list because I still don't fully.
Yeah, I mean, it's a wormhole that connects the Earth realm to the Abyss realm, and it's not what I would have imagined it would be the solution, but that's what they came up with. So it was fun to think about from the beginning through the end of the series what the upside down was. I'm glad they addressed it. I wouldn't say it's like the most fulfilling answer, what it sounds like maybe for you, but that was a question that I had. It's cool that they addressed it. How they ultimately destroyed it, yeah, that's a whole other thing. But like the idea of the upside down is a cool thing that I had questions about for the past 10 years, and they addressed it, which gets me to what probably really is the biggest mystery or question leaving the show is like, what happens with 11? And is that kind of where you want to, are you okay going there now?
No, this is where I wanted to, we have to have this conversation. So,
yeah. So again, she sacrifices herself an hour and change into the show, sacrifices herself. I keep doing quotation marks, and you think that is maybe her ending, and then we get to that last scene where Mike's telling stories, talks about the sage, who is 11, and they revisit like the other part of their conversation, and she basically, what was it? She was given invisibility by Callie. Callie created that projection. She was able to escape, and then there's a world where 11 went off on her own, away from everyone else, and they're all left to think that she was dead. And then I guess the question is that really what you think happened? Or do you think she really sacrificed herself? And it's a little bit open-ended.
So it is open-ended. I thought about this long and hard. I thought right after the show ended, I think she died. I don't think the thing with Callie happened. I did go back to watch when Callie died and Hopper came in and they did a close-up of her. Callie looked dead. Like she was dead. Not moving.
I think you and Dustin were maybe messaging on Facebook or something, and I commented too. I don't know about Callie making it much longer than last time we saw her. Definitely having enough strength to do all of those things and allowing her to escape. From that point of view, yeah, there's no way that it really happened.
So how would she have known they were at the gate and that the army was waiting and that you had to throw that? So you got to suspend disbelief. I don't think that happened. I think 11 genuinely sacrificed herself and died for this. That does not make it like less optimistic. I make us a little bit less optimistic, but doesn't make it like what she did any less. That's like even bigger. Like what she literally killed herself because she knew the people that she loved would never have a normal life with her, and she didn't want to go down that. And that is an incredible sacrifice that she made. And to say that goodbye to Mike, it means so much. With that being said, if that's what Mike and the others want to choose to believe, which is exactly what they do at the D&D table, when Dustin leans over and says, I believe, great. That's totally fine and awesome for them and helps them deal with their grief. But I do think that she did sacrifice herself and die in the Upside Down.
Yeah, I'm like 60% that she sacrificed, 40% if not, and then you just told me up to 90%. So I think it's a better ending and logistically makes more sense. And again, like there's no way that she knew that was going to happen on her way out of that portal or whatever. And again, Callie was in for grim shape. But I think that's awesome. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's awesome that we can think that she sacrificed herself, but like her friends and the main characters of the show can have this like tiny shred of hope that she didn't. And that's a great way to end it where it's not definitive. Despite what we may think.
A great ending. And they connected it all that way. And I just choose to believe that, which makes it even, I think, an even more powerful ending. So I'm glad. I was wondering where you were going to stand on that.
Yeah, for sure. Love that one. I'm going to move on to the next category because we're going long. Not that it's a bad thing, but I'm just going to move on if that's cool with you. You good?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So the I Am the One Who Knocks award for Power Move of the Season. I have an honorable mention and a winner. What do you got?
I have 4. I have 3 honorable mentions and a winner. I'll go through.
All right, so why don't you go ahead? You start.
Right, 1, power move of the season, Will figuring out he can control Vecna for a short period.
Yeah, right.
Huge power move. All right,
Yeah,
a big move there. So I would, that was an honorable mention for me. This is a fun one. Your boy, Derek, winning a tug of war match with Vecna at the cave. Power move of
My
the
boy.
freaking century. Derek, Vecna has Holly's leg or whatever with the bringage, and Derek muscles him and gets Holly and then tells Vecna to suck a big fat one.
Dude, suck like that one, dude.
An ode
Yeah.
to Stand By Me, which is perfect timing because that's what they say in Stand By Me. And with Rob Reiner, everything that happened with him a few months ago. So it's a really good connection there. Great power move, I thought, by Derek.
That is a good power move.
So
Derek's freaking the man.
yeah.
He should have been on the scene stealing list for me.
Yeah, he was. You're right. He was. And just that smile he had on his face in the truck, looking at Mike, was just an all-time smile.
Yeah.
So funny.
Love it.
Go ahead.
So I have one honorable mention in a winner, and I almost feel like I should switch him, but I'm not going to just because of the importance of the thing and what I think an actual power move is. But honorable mention for me would be Dustin's graduation speech, and he just went scorched earth a little bit, screw the establishment, middle finger to the principal. But I thought that was a little bit of power move, given the opportunity for him to say whatever he wants at his graduation.
I'm so happy that you mentioned this because this is not on my list. It just completely slipped my mind. An unbelievable power move. And I don't know if you've seen this, but that he did that in like memory and in honor of Eddie, who there's a scene in season 4 in the cafeteria where Eddie's like giving an awesome speech, and Joseph Quinn, the actor, so damn charismatic, and just being like, when I graduate, I'm gonna grab that diploma and give the finger to the principal's name and walk my way out of here. And that's exactly what Dustin did with the Hellfire.
I actually did not connect those dots, and I'm glad you brought it up, dude, because that makes it even that much better. And
it was a complete ode to him. So awesome moment with Dustin's mom laughing.
And he had the Hellfire, I think Hellfire Lives, his t-shirt said underneath when he opened up his robe.
That happened. And then him getting a chance to the girl or whatever that came up to Dustin is the same girl that Dustin went to ask to dance at the end of season 2. Remember at the dance where, I don't know if you remember.
I absolutely have seen that.
And that girl,
and kind of sit down and go play D&D.
Such a funny interaction and stuff with like, John Hughes film or whatever. And just her look on her face was great. So I'm so happy that you mentioned that because that graduation sequence was just
love it. All right, what else you got?
Real small one. Max remembering Henry's memories with 11 and Kali going into the play thing, and those like skeleton things were dancing behind them and they were running out of time. It was a pretty intense moment.
Yeah.
And Max, and then the memory changed and it was exactly where they needed to be. So good power move by Max for navigating her way in the memories of Henry's, for being there for 18 months and taking some notes.
Love it. All right, ready for wintertime? And we don't need to go into this too much because we already talked about it a bunch, but power move for me is like 11 sacrificing herself. That's what I think about a power move being, doing something like that. Anyway, so that's what I have. You might have something different.
I actually, it's a great power move. I have just 11, like getting into the mind flare. Like that was like all her training led to that moment. Like everything that she was doing for years led to that moment. And her preparation led her to that, and I thought that was a great power move of using her powers and getting in there and starting the whole sequence. So
love it. Okay, cool. All right, last 2 categories. We have the We Have to Go Back award for best cliffhanger or ending, and I only really have one thing, and I don't consider this cliffhanger. You might have some more cliffhangery stuff, but just more like ending. So what do you got?
I only have one too, and
all right, what do you got?
And it's not best cliffhanger, it's best ending, and it's the finale in the final sequence.
Yeah, I mean that's what I have to. And we already talked about how great it was. And another one for me where it was like, this award kind of gives us that path to do like the best cliffhanger or the best ending. And for me, I just was thinking more of the best ending. I'm trying to think. There wasn't any like truly great cliffhangers. Maybe when Max you saw Max at the end of one of the episodes earlier in the season, and you're like, oh, there's Max. We've been waiting for her to pop up this season. But I just think the best ending is that last scene, and I'm happy to leave it at that.
Shout out, though, for that scene when they're putting the books back. The score. All right, it's that song called I Believe by Dan Romer. The score with them putting the books up is up there with Michael Giacchino's Lost score at the end, with them moving on. Up there with Station 11 or Dr. 11, what was it?
Station 11.
Station 11 score. And that was, you could tell when they were doing that, the kids like weren't acting anymore. That was the kids. That was genuinely the kids crying, hanging up their hat, and hanging out their book, which is figuratively hanging up their hat and walking out. So that sequence was just insane. So that's the best ending. One of the best final scenes of a series I can remember.
Totally. 100%, dude. It's perfect. All right, so the end then brings us to the Prestige TV verdict, classic, cult favorite, or trash. For me, this is a classic. I think this is just one of those shows that thankfully stuck the landing, like we said, and will be remembered fondly, despite any concerns people had in that last season with different episodes or the release schedule or stuff. I just think this will be one of those Mount Rushmore shows over the years.
Yeah, congratulations to the Duffer Brothers. This is going to be a classic show. This will be a show that people will talk about and rewatch and remember for years to come. And that is so hard to pull off. Did you see? I know we talked about joking, but like how this was at the movie theater, it made $25 million in one day. So I realized
in a limited release,
Netflix gets $0 from that. And I think that's why they released $0. Money goes all to the movie theaters. And I think that's why it was all, because they're not like part of the, I don't know, not the SAG, but there's like a movie theater association that Netflix is not a part of. So all the money that they got, Netflix gets $0.
That's really interesting to me. And I wouldn't want to nitpick that with you, but it's just surprising that they can show something on Netflix and not have to give Netflix any money for that, because it's like, why don't you do this for a lot of shows on Netflix? Fuck it. I mean,
it does explain like why they didn't have a longer run. But if I knew, obviously hindsight's 2020, and there's probably 20 million people who have the same opinion as me. But if I knew the finale was going to be as good as this was, I would have bought tickets 7 weeks ago to go see it, because seeing this in the movie theater must have been an Avengers Endgame level experience.
Yeah, when they walked out of that movie theater on New Year's Eve night at 10 o'clock, 10:15, 10 whatever, like that, they're probably feeling pretty good, ready to celebrate the new year. But yeah, dude, it's a classic in my opinion.
Yeah, awesome. So again, now we went a little bit long. There's not many opportunities to talk about a show like this, and I'm thrilled that we were able to dive into.
Love it. Freaking great. Can't wait to get this out. What's next for us?
For us, we're getting into award season now. The Critics' Choice Awards were last night, so some things that won. Chalamet won for Marty Supreme, which I'm actually going to be going to see Wednesday night.
Nice.
It'll be great.
Maybe I'll check that out. The Pit won for Best Drama.
Yep.
One battle after another. Best Movie.
Sinners won some stuff too, so it's the start of award season. So I'm going to go see Marty Supreme on Wednesday. We're watching Begonia right now, which is on Netflix, the Jesse Plemons, Emma Stone movie, which we're halfway through. It's a little bit longer, but that's how we have to watch movies nowadays. And The Pit is coming back on Friday. Shrinking's coming back later this month. So some good stuff.
Love it, dude. Yeah, next one we do probably, when the Oscars?
Normally end of March, early April. So we'll have a few more between now and then.
So we have our Oscars episode is going to be in a few months from now. So we'll probably regroup, do something in a month from now, catch up on some of the things that we've been watching, probably avoiding the award movies, to be honest with you, because I figure we'll do one episode on all those things. But there's plenty of other stuff between now and then to catch up on.
Well, you'll be happy to hear I did start Welcome to Derry, and it was awesome pilot. Awesome pilot.
That pilot for me was just like, what is going on? My head was spinning. I didn't really understand everything, but dude, it settles into an awesome groove, and I'm excited that you started. I cannot wait to talk about that. Again, I think I ranked it as my third favorite show of the year. I freaking loved it. I would have never guessed that it would be that high, but I'm like all in right now.
Awesome.
I'm like, I'm listening to The Stand, freaking Stephen King. It's a 1,000 hours long audiobook, so I'm all in on Stephen King right now.
Welcome back. Yep. Awesome. Good stuff.
Anyways, a lot to discuss, pal, but that was fun. But we'll talk soon, all right?
All right. Thanks, bud.